Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We want to welcome you to the show here tonight. This is the Boy and Girl thing, and I have my good friend here with me, Dr. Christopher Salute. Hey.
Good evening. How are you doing, Cece?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I am Cece Shatz. I'm the Doyenne of relationship building. And those of you that are out there going, what the heck is a Doyenne, right?
Yeah, I always wonder that.
I know. I am a divorce, dating, and a life coach, and I really help people through some of the muckety muck of life. And so I'm a leader in my field. I've been around doing, our shows here on the Going Solo Network for quite some time now. And I've been a coach for, several years. So it's really a pleasure to help people get through some of the toughest times in their lives and see the happiness on the other side. So I'm pleased with that. And I know you, Dr. Salute, you've got all kinds of letters. You got an MBA, a PhD, you're
Absolutely.
a CEO, and you are a life and relationship coach. So
I apologize. You know me. I'm sharing the show to all the platforms, so I don't always have my head and my face focused on the show. But yes, Dr. Christopher Salute, life and relationship coach, owner of Bold Media, author, CEO, PhD, all that fun stuff. But just all around human being, right? So come to me when you're thinking about the questions that are weighing on you, about, especially with regard to men and women, right? Figure out. Hold on, I just went live on another thing here. But figuring out why it's not working, why it's working, how it can work better. Let's do that all together. And tonight we're talking about what, six different myths between men and women.
Yeah, and relationships. So I came across this great article, which I thought would be a fun topic to talk about. Hopefully, I still have it up here somewhere. But it really talked about, relationships and the difference between men and women. And of course, that's what our show's about, right?
Absolutely.
The differences between men and women. And how do we make it as on relationships? Because we have sometimes that roller coaster ride. I know that I have been on it. My partners have been on it, right? Mm-hmm. You've been on it a bit, I hear every now and then.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So we want to.
Here's my question, Cece. Is what prompted? And first of all, we're going to call you out for having a hangover today because maybe you weren't thinking straight this morning. What prompted this? So what was it that you looked at this article and you said, hey, this could be relevant today? Because we know why generally it's relevant, right? But why is it relevant to you today? Like what were you thinking about? What were some of the things going through your head? Because I think that should be the basis for how we get this conversation going,
Well, I mean, I think relationships are difficult, right? And a lot of times they're difficult, more so difficult, because we have this preconceived idea of what our partner is maybe believing, thinking, going through or such. And so, the reality is some of these myths that we're going to be talking about here tonight, I think we get a better understanding about it. Maybe we can just have a better relationship, a better understanding with our partners. And we all don't shut people down quite as much, as we're dating. So I think that's also very important.
Absolutely. So I took a glance at the article this morning, and then I read it a little bit more this afternoon, and then I started looking at other articles between the differences between men and women. And I think something that I thought was very interesting was that these myths that you're reading, right, and what assumptions are made about men and women. And of course, we're talking about hetero relationships, right? So if you're on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, actually, you can't be on TikTok. TikTok banned me for 2 weeks for talking about sex last week. But if you're on Instagram or YouTube or wherever, here's my question to you. What are some assumptions that you've made about the opposite sex? Or what are some assumptions that you've made? Let's even bring this into the LGBTQ sphere, right? What are some assumptions you've made about somebody who's just different from you? Right? We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to see some of that feedback, and let's approach them. And when you talk about those assumptions, maybe I can have my voice crack again like I'm 12. When you talk about those assumptions, it's okay to say, look, I had those assumptions and now I don't, right? We're not chastising you for them. We're curious to see what your assumptions were. I'll get it started, and then we'll talk about some of these myths as well. One of the things that I thought was very interesting as I became a young adult on the dating in the dating world when I let my wife and I split up, my ex-wife and I split up, was I thought to myself, women are all going to want a relationship with me. They're all going to want a relationship. And I was very upfront on my dating profile at the beginning. I don't know how much of this I want to share, but let's share it. Let's talk about it. I basically put on my profile, I was very ashamed at the number of folks that I had slept with in my life. It was very small. And all my friends had slept with more people that had much more experience. So on my dating profile, I said, I'm just looking to have some casual sex. I'm looking to I'm looking to up my numbers. That's what I said. Terrible. You would be shocked, Cece, at how many women replied to that profile and asked me what number they would be if we slept together. It was wild how attractive that was to so many people. And to me, I'm thinking to myself, now I want a relationship. Halfway through that whole thing, I'm like, I can't even get a relationship because people saw me as this guy that you just hook up with, So talk about myths. That was a myth to me that really was crazy.
Right. I mean, one of the items in the article was the fact about casual sex. That,
absolutely.
We often think that women don't want that, and in the article it stated that, some women are really kind of into that, and I think I hear it a little bit more now. Because I'm a little bit older and I'm hearing it more. Absolutely. Because women really don't want, not all women, and I'm not one of them, I have to say, but right. Not all women want, this full blown type of relationship. And they're really just looking for just a connection, someone they enjoy, someone they can kind of be with on occasion. And, no strings attached type of thing. They don't want to hear about what they do outside of the personal arena that they're in, and they're okay with that. And so I'm not like that, though. I will say that I would have hit the delete button on you, sweetheart. Delete.
Fair enough. Now, just let's talk about this because here's what I think. Right, I'd love to dissect a couple of these myths, and we'll go through that. One of the myths is that some women are into casual sex. Okay, cool. Let's talk about this. And you mentioned, Cece, that you think this is happening a little bit more. Mm-hmm. What I think is happening, actually, is that, hi, I see Life of Zaraji. I see Christina. Hi, everybody. What I think is actually happening, and feel free to comment on Instagram, is men are conditioning women to think that way. So there are some outliers, right? So I think some women have always felt like that. Hey, I just want some casual sex. It's empowering, all that kind of stuff. I think that men specifically have conditioned women to want a hookup because, to be honest, they figure that's all men are good for because we're just terrible at the rest of it, and we're going to play with them anyway. So may as well play the game. That's
honestly, I think you're almost right. I think the only difference is that a lot of women, I think in my age group, are saying, you know what, I just don't want the hassle with it. You know,
right.
I just don't want the hassle of all your drama, all your stuff, all your things, and I want you when you're into me, and I don't really want you when you're not into me.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to hear about all your other stuff that I have to deal with. And I don't want to do your laundry, and I don't want to cook for you. I just want to have a good time.
Right. And at the same time, there's something to be said about that too, right? So women who are your age who have maybe gone through a couple of relationships are saying, you know what, I don't want this drama. Two things are happening. One is they truly don't want the drama, right? But two is that older men are acting like children. I mean, right, let's be honest, is that they think to themselves, look, if I'm going to deal with these men that are acting like children, I'll just treat them like children. I'll get what I want from them, and I'll take what I want. Life of Sajari says, interesting topic. She's going to save this for later so that people can see. Yes, I will absolutely save it. But just so you know, if you're watching on Instagram, you can go to my story and watch on YouTube, and you can put your comments up on YouTube so that we can actually comment and talk with you. So let's jump into some of these myths, Cece, because I think these are pretty cool. The first one I thought was interesting was that men are more romantic. I'm sorry, women are more romantic than men. This is the common myth, right? Women are more romantic than men. What are your thoughts on that? Why?
No, I don't think so. I tell you what. Okay, I got to tell you something.
Okay.
Remember last show I said I had broken up with my boyfriend?
You didn't break up with him?
I'm back together with him. But And
Man.
he is extremely more romantic than I am. He's
Interesting.
much more romantic than I am. And
Okay.
so I think if a guy is really into you, I think he is more romantic, you know.
Yeah.
Not maybe not necessarily as much as you or whatever, but I think he will bring out that side of him because he wants you to feel nurtured and loved and all of that stuff. And they realize that women really do like that romantic soft side, and so they want to try to bring that out. You know, they want to do it. So yeah, so I kind of think men are, if you treat a guy right, you know, and he feels like it's okay to do that for you, I think a guy certainly will be much more romantic. Yeah.
Well, a couple of points here. So Life as Zaraji says depends on the person. I think so. She also says I can do your laundry if you do mine. Also, I think that's about sharing gender roles. We'll talk about that. But I think you're right. But also,
okay, here we go.
Christopher is such a romantic man. Oh, there's no exposing at all. Megan says Christopher is such a romantic. Not only am I romantic, I'm a sap. I mean, I love romance. I think, to me, you know, and that was probably, and Megan knows this about me, and anybody who knows me well enough knows this about me, that, you know, when a lot of people said what they said about me on the internet, it actually wasn't that I was just a player. That wasn't the beef. The beef was that I was very romantic. And so what I was doing was leading like a lot of people on into thinking they had a relationship with me because I love the romance. I love that part of getting together with folks. Now I learned the hard way that you don't do that with a lot of people. you do it with a few select people. But what I like about this article, so the article says, it turns out men typically outscore women on the measure of romance. Men are also more likely than women to believe in the romantic notion of love at first sight, which love at first sight could also be I'm super horny for you, right? Let's be real. But what I also found interesting, not on this article, I did some extra research. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. One of the reasons that men cheat actually is not for sex. Women typically cheat for lack of sex. Men typically cheat for lack of romance, for lack of emotional security, and they look for that in another partner, which I thought was very interesting. And it goes to show, and we'll talk about, you know, the barbershop in the next show and vulnerabilities, but I think it goes to show that there's a void here that men are not seeing in how they can share their emotional selves. Mm-hmm. Perhaps it's that women have that outlet already. They have that avenue, that vessel to show their romance. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think there's so many divorces, right? Is because we get caught up in this, you know, into a long-term relationship, and then we kind of let the romance die. And which I think, you know, a lot of people say, oh, Valentine's Day, it's just a Hallmark day. Oh, no, it's a day for you to save your relationship. It's a day for you to wake up and say, hey, let me appreciate you because you know what? I might have forgotten to do that, you know, 364 days. Absolutely. You know, so let me make sure that I score and I make sure that, you know that I love you. And so there's nothing wrong with being romantic more often because I think it solidifies our feelings for each other. You know, when we're romancing, when we're, you know, cooing and we're doing all of these things to each other, it's a very private, intimate, personal experience and something that only you as partners share with each other. And so, yeah, I think romance is should not be dead. And when it is, then we end up, you know, going through the divorce line.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny you bring up Valentine's Day. We'll talk a bit about romance and Valentine's Day. I find you want to talk about romance, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a man listening to the show, or if you're watching the show later, comment and write us a note. I find, and tell me if I'm wrong. Now, Megan's a little different. Megan and I are a little sappy, and that's great. And we also exchanged very heartfelt gifts this year. I find that men on Valentine's Day actually put in more effort. And anniversaries too, more effort, write longer cards, think of more thoughtful gifts than women, at least in my experience. It seems to me like it's a day not to show each other your love, for a man to show a woman how much he loves her, which is fine. But mm-hmm. I think that's really a day where you'll see an imbalance in romance.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think most certainly. And the other thing too, I heard on one of the radio shows, this guy was talking about, he's got a girlfriend and they're quite serious. And for Valentine's Day, she's got 2 daughters. And so he bought the daughters, flowers and candy and little teddy bears and whatever. And he did that. And, so that went right with the romance part.
Absolutely.
Of course, the woman thought, whoa, I mean, what a keeper, right? For him to do something like that. And that was very smart in his arena, but it really did score big. But it also made her feel appreciated and loved and valued, and that her family was too. So yeah, I mean, I think that I think Valentine's Day, there should be more Valentine's Days. There should be more of them. Yeah. We should have them maybe every quarter.
We should have Valentine's Day every couple months, to be honest. I mean, it's so funny. People say, oh, I hate Valentine's Day. And I'm not a huge fan of Valentine's Day either. And I'll tell you why. I think every day should be Valentine's Day, right? I think every day you should go out and you should show your person in little subtle ways how much you love them. And Megan is my partner forever and always. But I've had partners that I've cared about before, right? And I would be a fool if I waited until Valentine's Day to show them I cared, right? So even with Megan specifically, we'll take time out throughout almost every day and do the little things that we really know that the other one cares about, whether it be picking out an outfit that the other person likes, or making sure that they've had water, or we both have ADHD, so making sure that we've taken our medication to focus for the day. I mean, that's love, right? Those are ways to show folks that you love each other. Or she knows I'm just wild about her, so she'll just take a hot selfie for me because she knows that that's what I want. I want to see her. I'm curious. Speaking of Valentine's Day, I'll share that. And I'll ask Megan.
Oh yeah, what are you going to share? Come on.
So Megan got me one of the very thoughtful gifts that she got me this year was when she sends me some photos that are pretty hot. I'm saying pretty hot. I don't know what to do with them. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do with these photos. So I was like, do I keep them? Is it the right thing to do to keep them on my phone? Like whatever. So she went ahead and she made me a photo book. She made me a photo album on Snapfish with all the hot photos she sent me for the year.
Oh,
to which
so you have them all in one place.
Yeah, and they're on my nightstand right now. To which I replied, "Do I get this every year? Because now I'm greedy. Right now I want it every year, right?" And she said, "Well, I didn't include any of the 2023 photos, so maybe you'll get it next year."
Well, you know what, Megan? Okay, here's a tip: throw in some that he hasn't seen, right? Put some special ones in there that he hasn't seen, so this way it'll be a total surprise.
Yeah, that would. And, it's interesting. I said that too. I said, "Are there others that I haven't seen yet?" She said, "No, these were all specifically taken for you, and I sent them to you." And I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
So let's move on to topic number 2. Right. Yeah. These are 6 myths. These are from Psychology Today, but I found a couple of other articles where they have similar myths. A mate's or partner's physical attractiveness is far more important to men than it is to women. It's based on like a little seed of truth, but basically what they're saying is no. They're saying that so this data only speaks to what men and women claim they're looking for. Actual research will tell you that physical attractiveness was a main characteristic that predicted whether or not someone was interested in a second date. But in a more recent study, researchers examined the preference of, let's say, for example, college students participating in speed dating events. They wanted to know more about the person than what they looked like. They wanted to know about their characteristics. They wanted to rate other parts of those people before they actually got to know how that person looked. And I think that's a pretty cool thing, especially amongst college students, because we know college kids, I mean, stereotypically just like to get it on.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, physical appearance is definitely up there as one of the things that we connect with someone else with. It's like that, either we're into them or we're not, and that type of thing. And so, but when you look at couples, right, you look at them and you'll see like, why are they paired? You'll see like one isn't like one, maybe the guy or something isn't also attractive, but she's a knockout. I mean, she's like a model, right?
Right.
Who was it? Christy Brinkley and Billy Joel?
Yeah.
They were together. That was a pure example of that.
Is Billy Joel not attractive?
I think he is, but she is like, in my book, she could be, with someone that's a lot better looking than, but
Sure.
but I did, honestly, if you come knocking on my door, I probably wouldn't say no. But anyhow, so I don't want to be insulting, but I want to say that,
be careful.
People, the attraction people have with each other, you would be surprised sometimes people that are attracted to each other, right? So we shouldn't really base, our personal appearance on that kind of thing, because attraction, comes in many forms, many ways, and so we need to look at it like that. So yeah, so I think it is a myth. I think we put too much energy into looks, and we should put more energy into the actual physical attraction that someone has with each other.
It's so funny. And by the way, if you're watching on Instagram, we're not going to take a break. We're not going to go to TikTok because TikTok's being mean today. So you'll hang out with us, or go on my link on the story, and you can actually watch the show on YouTube, and you can put your comments up on the screen. But
Mandy also mentioned here she had to work her husband.
So let's get to that in a second, because I want to lose my thought on Megan. So Megan and I had a conversation with regard to exactly what you were just saying, which was the things other than physical attractiveness. We talked a bit about. Now there's a scene in some movie, 10 things he doesn't love you anymore. I don't know what the movie is now. Valentine's, New Year's Eve, one of those movies, and it's basically talking about finding your soulmate. To which and it's like, you have to find this little pea out of the 8 billion people. But I replied, I said, listen, sure, romantic notion that you have to find your pea in the 8 billion people, but let's be real about this. Your pea's a lot easier to find than you think, right? Because you're going to find people who are in groups that you are naturally inclined to be in, right? So if you're a smoker, you're going to find people at the smoker's corner at your work, right? If you're a weed smoker, you're going to find somebody smoking a joint, and they're going to pass you a joint, right? If you like to go for a drink, you're going to find people who like to drink. If you are a churchgoer, you're going to find people at church, right? These and not necessarily to say that this is the end all be all of where you're going to find those people, but you start to narrow these individuals down from the many niches of people that you can be with, right? So it's not like my partner, my soulmate, is probably not going to be somewhere in Nigeria, Africa, because we just grown up very differently, right? So while we can definitely be soulmates in certain respects, right? We can match in certain respects, values and integrity. I've grown up very different from that person, right? Somebody from Rome, Italy, somebody from Madrid, right? They've grown up very differently. So it would take a long time for me to get to know that person in a way that would be a soulmate. So I do.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Christopher, that I look at my relationship now, and our paths have crossed many, many times.
Right.
Why we have never seen each other before or been in the same circle before is very, very surprising. So, here's the thing, is that you just may not meet that person, So,
right.
And when it happens, you just got to take advantage of it. I think so often we worry about, are we going to meet the person versus thinking about the individuals that we have met,
Yeah.
So we put our attention on things that maybe and worry about things that really shouldn't have. But I want to honor those that have written to us, because I think it's important. If you guys send us a comment, you can come right on live here on Facebook, on our WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Facebook, and our YouTube channel. You can send a message and we can post it right like this and talk to you live. And we love to do that. So Mandy says, I had a coworker whose husband brought flowers to her at the office and brought bouquets for her single friends. Oh, that's so sweet. And I think that got him more points than the flowers did for her. Absolutely. I think definitely kindness. When a man shows kindness to your friends, to your family, it just says just so much about them as
the movie was called How to Be Single. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting, Mandy. You talk about the flowers. There was a somebody put out a meme recently where it was a teacher, a teacher who was dating somebody or had a husband, and her husband or boyfriend was sending her flowers every 2 to 3 times a week. And I guess at some point he forgot to send some flowers, and she was like, well, I feel like, he's sent so many flowers in his life, it's okay that he skips a couple of weeks. It's fine. And her kids said to her, her classroom kids, I don't know if I agree with this or not. Let's bring it to the table. They said, no, you don't let him send out a vibe that he can't keep up for the rest of the relationship. What do you think about that, Cece?
Yeah, I mean, I will share a story with you. When I was married, okay, and we were married for 18 years.
Yeah.
And towards the end, my ex used to do some very nice things for me for Valentine's, and I always looked forward to it, right?
Right.
I always just kind of looked forward to being treated special for
Absolutely.
one day, right? Well, the Valentine's came and he didn't say anything. He didn't do anything. He didn't say anything. Nothing.
Nothing for
I
Valentine's
gave
Day.
him something, you know, I gave him a card or whatever, and he didn't really acknowledge it. You know, he just moved on, did absolutely nothing. And so this bothered me. So I got to the point where I got so upset about it, I started not speaking to him and not realizing it, right? Not realizing. Right. I mean, I would speak to him only if it was necessary, only if he asked me questions. And after a while, I started thinking, I did it, and it was almost like a thing like, is he going to pay attention? And so then I noticed that he didn't really notice that I wasn't speaking to him, right?
Interesting.
So then a couple weeks went by, and this is after Valentine's, a couple weeks went by, and then he dawned on him that I'm not talking to him, right? That I'm only answering questions that he had or whatever I had to ask him.
Right, you're not initiating conversation, right?
That I didn't sit down and talk to him or anything like that. And so then he said to me, he said, so why aren't you talking to me?
Fair
and
question.
I said, so when did I stop being your sweetheart? And he goes, well, what do you mean? And I said, so when did I stop? Because at Valentine's, you did absolutely nothing.
Right.
And he didn't even respond. He didn't say anything or nothing. Then I get a call from his secretary. And she said, what do you want for Valentine's Day? He told me to go out and get you something. What do you want? You can buy anything. I can get anything you want.
His secretary?
Yes.
Good. What would you ask for? What did you ask for?
She said, what do you want? Something gold. I said, yeah, give me some jewelry or something like that. That's what I said. But you know what? I didn't even really care what he got because it didn't matter. It meant nothing.
I'd be so pissed.
It meant absolutely nothing. So here's the thing. The reason I bring it up is because I knew then our relationship was pretty much
sure.
Because he had no response when I said, when did I stop being your sweetheart?
Yeah.
You know? And he just no response, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so here's the thing. It's like when you have an opportunity to show somebody you love them, show them, right? Tell them, 100%. Be with them, do all of these things. I mean, we talk about romance and, you know, is a guy more romantic than a woman? The reality is we have an opportunity to make someone feel special, make someone feel alive, make someone feel important in our lives. Let's take advantage of that, right? And even
absolutely.
If it's just the onset of a brand new relationship, you have got a wonderful opportunity to step forward and do something special for someone. Do it. You know,
for sure.
Don't hesitate.
Yeah. Nicker06 on my Instagram says about the flowers thing with the t-shirts. Mm-hmm. I can see that thought process, but life does change. Gift surprises were different dating my husband at 23 than they are now in my 40s. They become more practical, but still special and sweet. Absolutely. I agree with that. I think a couple things. So I dated somebody a couple years back who said to me, she hated flowers. She just like, waste of money. She's like, we'll get flowers once every couple of weeks when we have brunch or we have our family over. She goes, don't give me flowers. She said to me, so I've always invested in stocks and crypto and all that kind of stuff. She said, I don't know anything about that. Teach me how to invest in stocks. Every time you're thinking about getting me flowers, if you're going to spend $10 on flowers, give me the $10 and I'll invest in stock and teach me how to and do that. That's something that we can do together. And I thought that was very interesting. With Megan, for example. So Megan and I spent I don't even know, several $1,000s on Christmas. Really stupid, right? Then for Valentine's Day, we were supposed to play it safe, and we didn't. We probably spent over $1,000 on Valentine's Day thinking that we were spending very little. So finally, we looked at each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we went and got lobster and crab, and we bought a new thing from the sex shop, and all. We went out and we did all these things. So finally, I said to her, she joked and said, oh, I'm a little sore. We had a great weekend. I said, my wallet's a little sore. And she said, well, then let's, for our anniversary, which is in a few months, let's just chill. And I said, great idea. So we're going to do some low cost stuff. We'll take a road trip. We will enjoy the gifts that we bought ourselves. And you'll
still spend money.
What's that?
You'll still spend money.
We're probably go to the Grand Canyon or something. Nicker comes back and says, it's like him grabbing me a coffee when he's out, dropping me off at the door. turning my seat warmer on, random but thoughtful. Absolutely. And you know what I think it is too? So flowers are fine, they're great, but I could throw up a dart at a board, and I'm pretty sure that anyone I get flowers for is going to enjoy them, right? Picking out your coffee that he knows you like is something that only he and maybe a few of your choice friends and family could do, if that, right?
Right.
He definitely can do it, right? Because he sees how you take your coffee. So with Megan, for example, I know that she likes certain things when I go to get coffee. She likes certain things. Same thing with turning the seat warmer on. It's like, I don't even say, like, do you want your seat warmer on? I know when she's cold and she needs a seat warmer on. Or, before I come, I may get us 2 glasses of water when we're going to go sit on the couch. And before I sit down on the couch, I'm grabbing the blanket that I know she likes because I know that her legs are going to get cold, right? So to me, those things are more valuable than the flowers, because the flowers could just be anything, right? Katie throws a heart out there. Thank you, Katie. Yeah. We love you too. Nice. I'm not sure what the heart was for, but we're taking all the love we can today.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And like, again, like one of the things he does for me always, whenever he goes to the grocery store, like he stops off at the grocery store on the way to get, because I know he's getting his lotto tickets, so he's gonna, he gets lotto tickets at the grocery store, but he always asks me, do I need anything? I never, I always say no, but he always asks me if I need anything. I mean, maybe someday I will need something. But
hopefully you keep asking.
It's just being thoughtful, right? Yeah. It's thinking about you. So, and I think that's romantic.
Absolutely.
I think that's a very romantic thing to do. What's the next thing on our list?
So let's skip this casual sex, because we kind of talked about casual sex, right?
Yeah.
Let's move on to men and women have fundamentally different personalities and orientations towards relationships. The reality is there is, in fact, a great deal of similarity in what men and women want from relationships. Both men and women rate kindness, an exciting personality, and intelligence as the 3 most important characteristics in a partner. So they rate them differently, but those are in the top 3. For example, men are taller than women on average, but there's also plenty of overlap in men's and women's height. So that's some similarities. The way that they approach the variations in their genders are very similar in that they hold the same values. What strikes me about this one, the last one, exciting personality and intelligence. What if you are stupid and you value intelligence? Do you actually value intelligence, or do you think you value intelligence because you don't actually know if you're intelligent or not? You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing. You can be, my mother always said this, you could be like street smart, right? You could be quick-witted and street smart, and then you can be book smart, where you have all this, extra intelligence of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think, for me, that my partner he's a whole lot smarter than I am. I mean, a whole lot.
So? Don't devalue yourself, though.
Well, I'm not devaluing. I'm really.
Are you hotter than he is? Are you more attractive?
But I think that I'm more quick-witted than he is, and I think that I'm a problem solver. He's a problem solver.
So he knows more stuff, but you use your brain differently.
Right. I just use my brain differently, and I'm wittier, and I'm so I mean I can get through stuff and sort stuff out. So I mean maybe I don't dot the I's and cross the T's as well as he does, but I certainly can. I can figure out another word that doesn't have an I or T in.
Right. There you go. But really though, what if you're stupid though, and you think that you value intelligence? Like, are you just looking for somebody who's like on that same, like not so smart level?
Well, I think it's a relatability, right? We have to be able to have that relatability with our partners. So I mean, I guess if you're going to go as far as like the smart scale, I guess you have to kind of be somewhere within that parameter, because if not, you would be frustrating. But there is something about not having the knowledge of something and having maybe your partner want to share and teach you, right?
Yeah,
and expose you to something that you haven't been exposed to before. And so, so I mean, I think there's something about that. And it's also something thrilling about that. You're learning something new, experiencing something new, and then your partner is sharing that with you. So, that kind of.
And I think, when it comes down to what you value in a relationship, right? So for example, I think about it. So folks folks rate kindness in the top 3. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest right now. I've left some women who were not kind. They just were not kind people. So maybe what they were looking for were the same type of kindness, the same type of demeanor that they have, right? So one thing that I said to Megan recently was, I remember I was dating somebody and I said something like, because we had a person that we were reading about who was robbing banks and his wife didn't know about it. And when she found out about it, she divorced him. And I said to her, would you divorce me if you found out I was robbing banks, but I was doing it for like the good of our family? And she was like, oh yeah, I would totally divorce you. And I'd want you nowhere near me. I asked Megan the same question and Megan said, I mean, are you hurting anybody? No, then we're on the same page. So I think it comes down to whether it's
divorce you.
and that's why we're not together, right?
You cannot break the law.
to me, what if I'm out of work and I need to break the law.
You don't rob a bank to get by. No, there's certain things, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So when you say kindness, exciting personality, and intelligence, what I actually read is those 3 things make up the similarities that I look for in a mate, right? So I'm going to look for the same type of kindness, the same type of personality, the same type of intelligence, or a complementing type of intelligence, right? So you mentioned that you're not as knowledgeable as John, but John is, but you're a little bit wittier. I tend to find women, Megan's highly intelligent, but I tend to date women besides Megan who are not as book smart as I am, but they could get me out of a paper bag, or they could figure out the GPS, or they could, they could, if I can't figure out how to fix my wrench, they could like show me how to do it. Right.
Yeah. And that's how I am. I'm very practical and I can do a lot more things than I realize that I can do, but I can't, like he can memorize and quote scriptures and various different things, which like totally go over my head. I couldn't remember anything like that. But yeah, so it's just different stuff. But we're different, right? And that's what makes it kind of fun, is that you are different. But I think the kindness scale is definite. I mean, I think that there are individuals out there that are not as kind, right? And so I think those individuals probably are attracted to each other because the people that are truly kind are not going to be with somebody that's not. So that's
right. It's whoever's less, kind of, right? Yeah. So let's. I know we're coming up on the hour here. We gotta make these last 2 quick. So the last 2. I'm gonna be honest with you, Cece. I might want to skip the last one because it says physical abuse in relationships is almost always committed by men, and it talks about how there's some physical abuse that's committed by women. But let's be real. The majority of physical abuse does happen from men. So I think we might get ourselves into a very political, heated debate that we don't want to get into right now. Yeah,
well, and I do know that because I do work with the divorce group, that there are physical abuse that does hit, women.
Of course.
They do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's jump into number 5, because I think number 5 is interesting. Men and women have fundamentally different ways of handling conflict, right? What this article actually says is it actually depends on who is making the demand of change, who's looking for the change. That person will be the aggressor in the conflict. So if the woman wants the man to change, she might take on more masculine, aggressive tones. If the man is looking for change, he may take on the more masculine, aggressive tones. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I never really thought about that, but I think you're right. I mean, I think it probably is the case. I mean, here's a reality, is that I think we have to have a reality check within ourselves, right? To determine, how our path has been going. Are we achieving what it is that we want to achieve in our lives? And if we keep seeing the same stuff happen over and over and over again, the reality is we do need to make a change. And it's not a change that maybe our partner wants us to make. It's a change that we need to make individually. It's a choice that we need to do. And, just recently I was talking with someone that we were talking about that. And then, also determining if this situation, doesn't rectify itself, and then you move on to someone else, right? Are you still going to be faced with the same problems? Does that mean you still have to really look and evaluate whether you do need to have change in your life? And so that person then decided, yeah, you're right. I do need to start shifting the way I'm thinking, shifting my mindset on this. And so that's the thing. It's like, I don't know about this, we live in too much of a controlling world. And so to think, well, because one person thinks they need to change, then what does it say? The one that changes the most has the most, what was it, control, or the most, read that again. Let's read that.
The one who wants the change is going to take on more masculine, aggressive vibes. The one who demands the change, they're going to be more aggressive.
Right. And so they're going to be more forceful on what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? I mean, that's,
I think the myths here, first of all, are very rudimentary. They're very basic. And I think the reality is that, with every relationship, there will come differences of opinions based on who you are and who the person is. And so, very interestingly, and I think Megan would probably attest to this too, I'm a highly sensitive guy. I'm a very verbose man. I speak way more words than most men. And so most women that I've dated would tell me that I'm unlike any other man that they've ever dated, because I get offended and insulted easily when I'm feeling sensitive. And I want to speak about those things. I want to have conversations. Whereas I think a lot of men probably let things roll a little bit and they don't want to talk about it. Now, that's not to say that they're not feeling those things, right? I think it's how it plays out. And if you think that men and women are so fundamentally different, I challenge you to come to a barbershop, a cigar lounge, or a locker room, because men will talk about their problems with women in a very similar way that at least I see women talk about it on television, right? Mm-hmm. We talk about these things. We do. And it's not like, man, females be crazy. It's like, so my wife said this, and I'm thinking about blah, blah, and now I feel inadequate. Like, and is she cheating on me? Like, we talk about these things. So, I think women probably have moments of masculinity where they're like, they do the opposite of what we would think they do, where they brush us off, or they, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. I think that we're more similar than we choose to believe.
Well, I think the world has created a shift, right? I think times have changed where men are now being more vocal. They're talking together more about situations. Yeah. I don't think you had that before. And no. So now they're finding that if they talk about their feelings, they talk about stuff, they can readily then deal with the situation, because men are fixers and they want to fix things. And so to be able to lay it out there, put it on the table and say, hey, I got this problem, I got this situation, and have a sounding board so that you can share it. As far as I think a little bit more about about making the change, and where you say it's more masculine, they become more masculine. Well, is it masculine, or is it because they feel like they're having to create so many shifts in their lives? Things are happening so quickly that they feel a little bit out of control.
Same women.
Yeah, they feel so it appears like it's masculine because they're not, there's so many things that they're having to deal with, that they become overwhelmed. And I think that's and then it shows that a masculine side might come out. But
I think that's fair. And I think honestly, Megan and I talk about this quite a bit, about how sometimes, she will get offensive but she will get offensive so that she could defend herself against me. And I think to myself, my doll, like, what is it that you're defending yourself against? I haven't done anything yet. And a lot of times what the root of that issue is, she's so conditioned to think that I'm going to attack, that she's just at the ready to defend herself.
Right.
And it's very simple. And we probably have to take a break before our next show, but very simple. I don't know if you watch the Super Bowl, Cece, but there's a lot of controversy regarding Rihanna being pregnant and doing the Super Bowl.
Was she pregnant? I was going to look that up because I thought, she looks like she's pregnant.
She was definitely pregnant. She had a bump, and a lot of men were like, well, a lot of people in general were like, what a crummy Super Bowl performance. Blah. My only beef was that she didn't bring out Jay-Z or Kanye, because those are two artists that she collabs a lot with, but I thought she did a great job. And a lot of women said, look, this woman's pregnant, suspended 150 feet above the air. and she's singing 13 songs in 12 minutes or 12 songs in 13 minutes, and all you have to say about it as you rub the Doritos off your chest is like, it could have been better. And so, to your point, I think that women, unfortunately, are in a place where they've got to come to their own defense quickly, because men are just, they've dictated this narrative for so long. I think women are finally like, you know what, screw you. Like, say what you're going to say, then I'm going to have casual sex. I'm going to leave you in the lurch. I'm going to outbid you in business, right? Like, they kind of have to fend for themselves a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I kind of get what Megan does, because I do the same thing. Sure. I become a little bit like stand back and like, and I know even my voice goes up a little bit of an octave, and I get a little furious, and then he'll say, why are you getting, and then I'm realizing, oh, I'm getting myself a little bit, my knickers in a twist.
Exactly. So like, okay. Way wider up,
Yeah. So, I mean, I totally get it, but it is true that it's because we weren't always listened to, right? Sure. We weren't always given the opportunity to have a voice. And so now in today's world, we are given that opportunity to have a voice. We 100%. Are able to speak and be able to do different things. And so, and hopefully as we build a relationship with someone that can be strong, and we can let our guard down, and we can share with each other what's important and what has value, and create a good, loving atmosphere. So I thought this article was kind of cool. I hope everyone else out there liked it. It was a little bit enjoyable as we Absolutely. Went through it.
Absolutely. So I think what we learned today is that communication, coming to the table and just being a little bit more vulnerable will probably solve a lot of your problems. So you were watching the Boy and Girl Thing with Dr. Christopher Salute and Cece Shatz. This is on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. This is Going Bold Wednesday. Please tune in to every other Wednesday to our shows. We'd love to have you comment. And if there's a topic that you want to hear and you want to talk about, let us know. Really, though, like, we want to hear that. So even, Zaraji was on my Instagram going, this is a topic we want to hear more about. Great. What else do you want to hear about? Let us know. We want to hear from you. Anyway,
right. And one thing too, I want to point out that both Christopher and I are coaches. We are life coaches, relationship coaches. So if you feel like you do need to talk to someone, reach out to one of us. You can find us right on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, Twitter. We're on all of that stuff.
We're everywhere.
Yeah. So if you do have a problem and something you do want to share and talk about, certainly, reach out to us and let us know, because we're there for you. We want to help you. So now you're going to be talking about what? You're going to be talking
Absolutely.
about.
So I'm going to talk about, so this is, and I'll be honest, this is an article that you picked out for me, the challenges that modern men face. And I think this is going to be a really cool article that I read, and I did a little bit of my own research on what modern men are up to lately, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. So if you want to talk about some men's issues, come hang out with us in a little bit. It's going to be in about 7 minutes on the barbershop.
Right. So here it is, ladies. It's something. This is an important thing. I mean, we want to think about the barbershop, and we want to think about what the guys are talking about, and we as ladies want to know that. So you definitely want to tune into the barbershop.
We do.
And check it out. So I think we better close the show, don't you think?
Absolutely, my friend.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. Bye for now.
Bye.